Have you ever looked at the world and wondered why intelligence often seems like a burden? Why do smart people often seem so unhappy, while those who don't think too deeply appear to have an easier time in life? It's not just bad luck. It's not a glitch in the system. According to Friedrich Nietzsche, it's the system itself. For Nietzsche, intelligence was never about advantage. It was never about success. It was about seeing through the illusions that make life bearable. And once you understand that, the world starts to make sense in a terrifying new way. Nietzsche didn't believe in comforting delusions. He didn't believe that knowledge always brings happiness or that understanding leads to peace. He believed that most people protect themselves with ignorance because the truth is too dangerous, too uncomfortable, too real. But he didn't turn away from it. He walked straight into it. This is not a video about how to be happy. This is a video about why happiness often requires not seeing too much, not questioning too deeply, not knowing too completely. In the next 7 chapters, we're going to explore Nietzsche's most explosive ideas about intelligence, ignorance, suffering, and why the capacity to see clearly may be the heaviest burden humans can bear. But more importantly, we'll ask, what can you do once you recognize the curse of your own awareness? Because Nietzsche didn't want you to despair, he wanted you to transform. Let's begin. We like to believe the world rewards intelligence, that if you're perceptive, reflective, and thoughtful, you will thrive. That intellectual ability is not only admirable, but practical. But Nietzsche didn't buy it. He saw intelligence not as some universal good, but as a double-edged sword, often cutting deepest those who wield it. In The Gay Science, Nietzsche makes a radical claim. What we call intelligence isn't necessarily advantageous for survival or happiness. The ability to see through social fictions, to question inherited values, to perceive the abyss beneath our feet. These capacities often bring pain rather than reward. This doesn't mean ignorance is preferable or that thinking should be abandoned. Nietzsche's point is deeper. Intelligence does not care about your comfort. The world does not hand out happiness to those who see most clearly. It offers peace to those who accept the necessary illusions, the vital lies that make social life possible. It's a harsh truth, but Nietzsche believed that facing it was the first step toward freedom. Because as long as you believe intelligence will shield you, you're vulnerable. You're living in a fantasy that leaves you exposed and wondering why your perceptiveness keeps delivering suffering instead of success. Intelligence doesn't ask who deserves happiness. It simply removes the veils that make happiness possible. And until you understand that, Nietzsche warns, you'll keep mistaking awareness for advantage and wonder why the world keeps rewarding the opposite. To understand Nietzsche's view of intelligence, you have to understand the 2 kinds of knowledge he believed shaped human experience. Not useful and useless, but life-affirming and life-denying. Life-affirming knowledge was knowledge that served action, creativity, and vitality. It was rooted in experience, in instinct, in the joy of discovery. The strong mind, Nietzsche said, didn't use knowledge to escape life, but to enhance it, calling what intensified existence good and what diminished it bad, not out of moral judgment, but because it was self-evident. Knowledge that increased power was beautiful. Insight that sparked creation was sacred. Understanding that made life more intense was to be celebrated. But those haunted by awareness, without the strength to bear it, developed another relationship to knowledge. Nietzsche observed a festering resentment, not just toward the limits of knowledge, but toward knowledge itself. Over time, this resentment created a new intellectual attitude: knowledge as burden, truth as punishment, awareness as wound. This was not a passive shift, but a revolution. Those who couldn't transform their insights into power learned to wear their suffering as virtue. They moralized their own intellectual torment and condemned those who refused to be crushed by awareness. Over time, this life-denying knowledge won. It shaped philosophy, science, even art. And most people, Nietzsche believed, don't realize they've inherited a relationship to truth, born not from strength, but from weakness. It wasn't intelligence that became a curse. It was intelligence divorced from life, turned against itself. And Nietzsche's warning was clear. If you don't examine the roots of your thinking, you may end up seeing through eyes designed to punish anyone who dares to experience knowledge as joy rather than torment. Nietzsche didn't just criticize intelligence. He questioned the very nature of society's relationship to those who see too clearly. Beneath the surface of every culture, every community, every conversation, he sensed something defensive, the collective discomfort with the individual who perceives what others miss. He called it the resentment of clarity, the silent agreement we all feel, often without knowing it. To not notice too much, to not question too deeply, to not articulate what everyone secretly knows but pretends not to see. In the social world, you're accepted, but only as long as you maintain the necessary blindness. Because the moment someone dares to name the unspoken, to acknowledge the uncomfortable, to refuse convenient fictions, they become threatening. Not because they're wrong, but because they're often right about what others work so hard to ignore. Nietzsche believed the crowd doesn't hate intelligence because it's mistaken. The crowd hates intelligence because it's revealing, because it exposes by its mere existence how much self-deception ordinary life requires. Society resents the one who sees, who names, who refuses to pretend, and so it punishes them, not always with rejection, often with isolation, with the burden of awareness they cannot share, with the quiet, invisible alienation of the one who knows too much. He saw this dynamic everywhere, in families, in friendships, in communities, the subtle punishment of perception, the unspoken demand to see less and say even less of what you see. And he warned that in a world that requires shared blindness, clarity would be treated as arrogance and perception as betrayal. But to Nietzsche, the goal of life wasn't to be comfortable. It was to become what you are, even if it means being isolated, even if it means being misunderstood. Because the price of shared blindness is your integrity, and the price of solitary sight is truth. Forget happiness, forget acceptance. Nietzsche believed that beneath every human thought, insight, and realization lies something deeper, something more vital. He called it the will to power. This wasn't just the desire to know more than others. It was the raw inner force that drives every living intelligence to expand beyond conventional understanding, to create meaning where others see chaos, to transform perception into creation. But here's the twist. Most people don't recognize it because true intelligence doesn't always look like what we're taught to call smart. It often manifests in unexpected ways. Some express intellectual power through art, others through critique, others through creating new values, or even through silence when silence is the only honest response to what they've understood. Nietzsche believed that even the thinker who appears to turn away from the world might be exercising intelligence in its most concentrated form. Knowledge doesn't vanish just because someone appears simple. Sometimes it becomes more dangerous when it hides. This is where Nietzsche's insight cuts deepest. He saw that intelligence isn't just out there in academic journals and ivory towers. It's in you. It's the part of you that refuses to accept platitudes, that senses the contradiction in comfortable certainties, that knows there's more than what you've been shown. But most people suppress it. They trade their perceptiveness for belonging, for safety, for the warmth of shared illusions. Nietzsche wasn't asking you to feel superior to others. He was asking you to stop lying to yourself, to stop pretending you don't see what you see. Because somewhere inside you, there is an intelligence not taught to you, not borrowed, but your own. And until you honor it, you'll live by inherited thoughts in a mind that never truly felt like yours.